Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle, and thank you, as always, for joining us. Trump zooms Davos. That's the focus of tonight's angle. The Bond villain behind the elite's annual gathering in Davos is obviously nervous. Klaus Schwab kicked off the annual confab by trying to reassure attendees that they still run the show.
The world faces critical challenges: extreme weather events, misinformation and disinformation, increasing divisions within societies, within countries. The future is shaped by us, and particularly shaped by us here in this room.
Shaped by us in the room. Warnings of disinformation. Can't make this up. This is the epitome of uninformed arrogance. But he's just another globalist mastodon on the verge of extinction. But still, let's compare the response to Trump at the World Economic Forum in his first term to how he was received today. It was quite something to behold.
Of course, I'm aware that your strong leadership is open to misconceptions and biased interpretations. Therefore, it is so essential for us in the room to listen directly to you.
The importance of American leadership and your personal leadership is fundamental and paramount. We are here to hear your vision and policies related to revitalizing the economy and addressing the global challenges.
Well, so it goes from tolerating Trump at Davos, that first soundbite, to kind of, well, acknowledging grudgingly that he's a force to be reckoned with. It's quite the change in tone. But this morning, Trump treated his Davos appearance kind of like a Zoom call with a message to clueless Klaus.
I'm pleased to report that America is also a free nation once again. On day one, I signed an executive order to stop all government censorship. No longer will our government label the speech of our own citizens as misinformation or disinformation, which are the favorite words of censors and those who wish to stop the free exchange of ideas and, frankly, progress.
It was so refreshing to watch from beginning to end. It was Trump's message stood really in stark contrast to the Davos dimwits on almost every issue. And remember, they are not going to stop fighting as much as they can to destroy gas-powered cars, the entire oil and gas industry.
Our fossil fuel addiction is a Frankenstein monster, sparing nothing and no one. All around us, we see clear signs that the monster has become master.
Ooh, lofty rhetoric. But the real monster scenario is found in the world where they have all the power and individuals in free nations are forced to submit. Well, Trump's going to have none of that.
I terminated the ridiculous and incredibly wasteful Green New Deal. I call it the Green New Scam. Withdrew from the one-sided Paris Climate Accord and ended the insane and costly electric vehicle mandate. The United States has the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we're going to use it.
Greenheads were exploding from the Swiss Alps to China. Of course, China is banking on its ability to totally annihilate the American automobile industry by sucking us all into electric vehicles. Now, on trade, Trump was just as blunt.
The EU treats us very, very unfairly, very badly. They don't take our, essentially don't take our farm products, and they don't take our cars, yet they send cars to us by the millions. They put tariffs on things that we want to do. We have, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars of deficits with the EU, and nobody's happy with it, and we're going to do something about it, but nobody's happy with it.
The agenda is now and always will be America first.
My message to every business in the world is very simple. Come make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest taxes of any nation on earth. But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff.
But it wasn't just business issues tackled at Davos. The gender benders they're also panicking that they're losing power. Now, who knew it was a global priority to protect drag shows?
What we've enacted is free speech for algorithms, not free speech for citizens. We're seeing an uptick in violence in the United States against LGBTQ people. Everything from attacks at drag shows to trans women being murdered on the street.
And once again, Trump beamed in and laid waste to that insanity.
My administration has taken action to abolish all discriminatory diversity, equity, and inclusion nonsense. America will once again become a merit-based country.
My favorite part, though, was when he chose to address the CEO of Bank of America directly. Now, remember, the bank had shared account holders' information after January 6th and then flat out denied that other conservative businesses' access to their services was even happening. They thought, oh, no, everybody's getting access.
And I don't know if the regulators mandated that because of Biden or what, but you and Jamie and everybody, I hope you're going to open your banks to conservatives because what you're doing is wrong.
Of course, Bank of America claims nothing nefarious ever happened. But the fact is, the globalist titans of industry and politics and media, they gathered at Davos, and they're never going to be comfortable with what Trump represents. They might put on a good act, but never will they accept it. An America that is unapologetic, an America that is bold, an America that's sometimes brash, they don't want that, but too bad. Because Trump has all the momentum. He returned from the political grave to win the presidency, and he is inspiring not just our own citizens, but those seeking a better life across the globe. Now, over the weekend, I had the chance to chat with Italian President Giorgia Meloni and watch the buzz around Argentina's former president, Javier Milei. I met populist politicians from Sweden, from Poland, and the Czech Republic. All of them are thrilled about our new American president. So 8 years ago, Trump was a speed bump on the way to global control. Today, he's the prophet of pragmatism. We all felt more connected than ever. We all feel more connected than ever, thanks in large part also to social media. Think about it. What on earth would we do without Elon Musk and X? Why do you think the Davos bigwigs are so keen on censorship? Trump's Zoom message to all of them who thought America was on her heels, who profited off the decline of the American worker, is clear. Your schemes to control us, to censor us, to rip us off, to shame us are over. You're officially on notice. And that's the angle.
Fox News alert. President Trump just signed an executive order declassifying and releasing all files related to the JFK, RFK, and MLK assassinations. Watch.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order ordering the declassification of files relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades. And everything will be revealed. Okay? Give that to RFK Jr.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Only fair that Bobby gets the Sharpie. This order instructs the Director of National Intelligence and the Attorney General to come up with a plan within 15 days for the full and complete release of the JFK files, and 45 days for the release of the RFK and MLK archives. These are tens of thousands of documents that have never been seen before, that have been buried for over 60 years. Primetime will have full coverage on the day they drop. 47 signed a flurry of executive orders this afternoon, and some of them could make you rich.
This is the crypto EO. We're going to be forming an internal working group to make America the world capital in crypto under your leadership.
Which is really going up, right?
Absolutely.
All right, David, that's for you. Thanks.
Sir.
You find them exciting? They might not be exciting, but they're going to make a lot of money for the country.
I don't own any crypto. Should that change? Trump says rates are coming down, whether Jerome knows it or not.
The interest rates will come down.
You said that you would demand that the interest rates come down.
Well, I would.
Do you expect
I
the
would put
Fed-
in a strong statement.
Do you expect the Fed to listen to you?
Yeah.
Trump's demystifying the idea that all these Washington institutions are perfectly independent. Biden would never tell his attorney general what to do. Obama would never talk to the Fed chair about rates. I can't be seen talking to a justice. That would be unethical. The Washingtonian virtue signaling is history. Presidents don't have to be shy about power, and having an opinion isn't illegal anymore. Trump's not whispering and tiptoeing around D.C. Same thing with Davos. Once a year, the financial elite gather in a tax haven, hire escorts, and stroke each other's egos, then dictate how the rest of us are going to live. Brain implants, bugs for dinner, and willy-nilly windmills. Kerry's usually falling off his bicycle, and Al Gore's screaming about rain bombs or misinformation. This year, though, was a little different. The newly minted president zoomed in as a symbol of disrespect and told Davos they aren't dictating anymore.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Well, thank you very much, Klaus, and hello to everyone in beautiful Davos. This has been a truly historic week in the United States. 3 days ago, I took the oath of office, and we began the golden age of America. What the world has witnessed in the past 72 hours is nothing less than a revolution of common sense. Our country will soon be stronger, wealthier, and more united than ever before, and the entire planet will be more peaceful and prosperous as a result of this incredible momentum and what we're doing and going to do.
Davos didn't usher in a golden age, did it? Davos dictated DEI, mass migration, and attacks on cow flatulence. It isn't about what they want anymore. It's about what we want. And Trump's ripping up their wish list.
I terminated the ridiculous and incredibly wasteful Green New Deal. I call it the Green New Scam. Withdrew from the one-sided Paris Climate Accord and ended the insane and costly electric vehicle mandate. We're going to let people buy the car they want to buy. I mean, the Green New Deal was such a total disgrace. And it was conceived of by people that were average students, less than average students, I might add, and never even took a course in energy or the environment. It was just a game. Remember, the world was going to end in 12 years? Remember that? Well, the 12 years has come and gone.
The New World Order won't be set at a summit in Switzerland by bankers, politicians, and economists who look like woolly mammoths. At one point, Trump name-checked the Bank of America CEO. Watch.
Speaking of you, and you've done a fantastic job, but I hope you start opening your bank to conservatives, because many conservatives complain that the banks are not allowing them to do business within the bank, and that included a place called Bank of America. They don't take conservative business, and I don't know if the regulators mandated that because of Biden or what, but you and Jamie and everybody, I hope you're going to open your banks to conservatives, because what you're doing is wrong.
President Trump calling a bank chairman immoral ruffled quite a few feathers in the Davos dining room, but they couldn't do anything about it, and neither can Canada.
We're going to be demanding respect from other nations. Canada, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. We're not going to have that anymore. We can't do it. I don't know if it's good for them. As you probably know, I say you can always become a state. And if you're a state, we won't have a deficit. We won't have to tariff you, et cetera, et cetera. But Canada has been very tough to deal with over the years, and it's not fair that we should have a $200 billion or $250 billion deficit. We don't need them to make our cars, and they make a lot of them. We don't need their lumber because we have our own forests, et cetera, et cetera. We don't need their oil and gas. We have more than anybody.
America is beginning to reassert its economic advantage. We have the biggest consumer market, more liquid capital than any country, and the largest energy reserves, not to mention a bigger navy than every nation on earth. And the dollar's the world currency. So this country has an absolute right, an obligation to our own people to set trade terms and not be taken advantage of. NATO's spending, a perfect example.
I'm also going to ask all NATO nations to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP, which is what it should have been years ago. It was only at 2%, and most nations didn't pay until I came along. I insisted that they pay, and they did, because the United States was really paying the difference at that time, and it was unfair to the United States.
Why aren't the Europeans paying more for their own protection? Why are we paying the bulk of NATO's budget? That's like a security guard paying a client to protect them. NATO's an incredible alliance. We just have to get our books in order, so our allies don't get a free ride, because while they get a free ride on defense, they're ripping us off on trade. They tariff American goods, but we barely tariff European goods. And that's about to change. And the Saudis better start pumping.
Saudi Arabia will be investing at least $600 billion in America, but I'll be asking the Crown Prince, who's a fantastic guy, to round it out to around $1 trillion. I think they'll do that because we've been very good to them. And I'm also going to ask Saudi Arabia and OPEC to bring down the cost of oil.
And if the Saudis don't round up $400 billion, Trump will visit Israel first.
You said you're going to ask for $1 trillion. Will Saudi Arabia be the first foreign country you will visit, since they invest in that much?
Well, if they do that, I would, yeah. I would be glad to do that. I did it, as you know, 4 years ago. We did $450 billion, meaning the money all goes to American companies, and they purchase jets and they purchase computers and everything else. And we did $450 billion, and I guess we're at 650.
Trump shopping around his first foreign trip to the highest bidder. And it's not like he's getting the money, you're getting the money. These are investments in America. Trump's treating our country like an NFL free agent. You know, I really want to sign with Buffalo, but LA's offering a much better package. Globalism's over, and we're taking Davos down with it. We're not going to let multinationals outsource production and sell product back into the U.S. duty-free. We need to protect our workers and supply chains. Fiat Chrysler met with Trump, and now they're restarting a Jeep plant in Illinois and building Dodge Durangos in Detroit. Samsung is about to move production from Mexico into the United States. Canada wants to help Trump restart the Keystone Pipeline. And the president just lifted a pause on liquefied natural gas exports so he can sell the Europeans natural gas and wean them off Russian energy, which makes our country wealthier, our allies safer, and slows down the Russian war machine, forcing Putin to the negotiating table. And by the way, check your 401k. The S&P 500 just hit a fresh record high. And guess where Marco Rubio's first trip is as Secretary of State? Panama. What a powerful message to send. Things are moving again, and the administration's in the zone.
At any point, did you doubt you would be back here?
So it's a great question. It's something I don't think about. I never really thought about it. I don't think about, gee, will I be back? I just do it. I get it done. I get things done. I'm good at getting things done.
Constitutional scholar Jonathan Turley says Trump's not making surgical strikes, but saturation bombing Washington. Obama promised to fundamentally transform America, but Trump is actually doing it. There was this myth that there was gridlock in Washington. The country was divided and change was slow. That just gave professional politicians an excuse for 3-day work weeks. They didn't want you to know real change was possible, because then we'd raise expectations and they'd have to actually do their jobs and actually represent our interests instead of their own. But now they have an excuse for their lack of action. The New York Times says it's the return of the king. Trump embraces trappings of the throne. The media wants you to think only a tyrant could get things done in D.C. They want you to think what Trump's doing is not in the American tradition. He's a wannabe dictator. No, he's not. Just because he's playing with a sword doesn't make him Napoleon. This is what it looks like when you beat 4 cases, survive 2 assassination attempts, and sweep every battleground. A president with political capital who knows how to use it with gusto and precision. Lawyer Mike Davis told the New York Times, quote, "This election was a referendum on Trump, on MAGA, and on lawfare, and the American people rendered their verdict on November 5th. He earned power, and now he's going to use it like Democrats. Democrat presidents use their power to put foreign nationals on welfare, bribe voters with college loan bailouts, and print money to dish out to donors. Democrats did all of that after their elections. They never campaigned on any of that. They tried to hide it. The difference is Trump's doing exactly what he promised to do, and the voters ratified the mission. We're living in a time of populist rebellion. Journalist Carl Zinsmeister says this: voters let loose a genuine bull into the china shop of the ruling class, those who have dominated public life for a generation, declaring that the sky is falling. Maybe their sky's falling. Maybe their time at the top's over, but yours isn't. Your time at the top is just getting started. The power is being returned to the people. No one can tell you what bank to use, what car to buy, what words to say, what food to eat, which shows to watch. We're the only ones who can get in our own way. So put your chin up and your shoulders back. Today was a good day.
And welcome to Hannity, and tonight part 2 of my Oval Office interview with the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. That's only moments away. We talk about tax cuts, Putin, Ukraine, China, President Xi, North Korea, Iran, so much more. Also breaking tonight, Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth has officially cleared his procedural vote in the Senate, will now advance to a confirmation vote, likely around this time tomorrow night. If you are counting, it is only day 4 of the new Trump administration. The activity level is off the charts. The president dialed in. He is executing his agenda at a lightning-fast pace. Now, here's something we rarely see in American politics. President Trump is actually keeping his campaign promises, and he's doing them as quickly as possible. Breaking tonight, the president signed a new order to declassify the JFK, RFK, MLK assassination files without delay. As promised, the president is committed to government transparency. He's also committed to securing our borders. Look at this headline, quote, border encounters drop sharply as Trump launches crackdown on illegal immigration. I think he said he was going to do that. Now, of course, that crackdown does include deportations. Take a look.
I'm not going back to Haiti. One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
Trump, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
I think he's going back to Haiti. Now, Donald Trump has empowered immigration and customs enforcement to do their job in all 50 states. Yep, even sanctuary states and cities. He also declared a national emergency at the border. He's deployed U.S. Marines to the region. He has now reinstituted the Stay in Mexico policy for so-called asylum seekers. And Donald Trump also pressuring Mexico to secure their own southern border and, by the way, close the newly renamed Gulf of America. The president also making good on his promise to demolish globalism. He has already removed the U.S. from the destructive Paris Climate Accords. Those accords say China and India are developing nations. He also withdrew our country from the horrendous global minimum tax, the WHO. He's again moving at lightning speed. Today, during his speech in front of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, well, the president vowed to always put America first, and he delivered a powerful blow to the censorship-loving elites. Take a listen to this.
I'm pleased to report that America is also a free nation once again. On day 1, I signed an executive order to stop all government censorship. No longer will our government label the speech of our own citizens as misinformation or disinformation, which are the favorite words of censors and those who wish to stop the free exchange of ideas and, frankly, progress. We have saved free speech in America, and we've saved it strongly.
Now, the president, he also used that speech to call out someone sitting in the very room in Davos, Bank of America's CEO. According to a 15-state coalition, the Bank of America has discriminated against Americans for political and religious reasons. The Attorney General of Virginia also accused the bank of, quote, voluntarily cooperating with the FBI, the U.S. Treasury under Biden to profile conservative and religious Americans as potential domestic terrorists. And here is what President Trump had to say to the bank's CEO. Take a listen to this.
By the way, speaking of you, and you've done a fantastic job, but I hope you start opening your bank to conservatives, because many conservatives complain that the banks are not allowing them to do business within the bank, and that included a place called Bank of America. They don't take conservative business. And I don't know if the regulators mandated that because of Biden or what, but you and Jamie and everybody, I hope you're going to open your banks to conservatives, because what you're doing is wrong.
Now, Bank of America's CEO did not respond at the event, but the bank later issued a statement denying that they have a political litmus test, despite multiple serious allegations. Now, the president is not going to play nice after years of political rot. He's going to stand up to anyone. He will hold them accountable in front of the entire world, and that includes America's deep state spy apparatus. Now, after meddling in the 2020 election with that deceptive letter suggesting that the very real and true Hunter Biden laptop story was likely Russian disinformation, remember, 51 former intel officials, well, they have now been stripped of their security clearance, and that includes a notorious liar, former Marxist, John Brennan, who is still lying, and by the way, very sad, he will no longer be able to abuse that special access. Take a look.
As you point out, he misrepresented the facts in that executive order, because it said that we had suggested that the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation. No, we said it was for the hallmarks of Russian information operations, including the dumping of accurate information, which is what we said in that letter.
Right where he belongs, over there at the conspiracy peddling MSDNC. Frankly, he's just lying. Look at this old headline from The Guardian, quote, John Brennan lied to you and to the Senate. Fire him. As you can see, Brennan has long been accused of leaking classified information, lying to Congress, spreading baseless smears on MSDNC, but not anymore. President Trump is actually draining the swamp as promised. He's firing political hacks. He is forcing bureaucrats back to the office 5 days a week. He is pausing all federal regulation. He is getting rid of all the DEI programs and employees. Our country is now positioned to make the greatest comeback ever seen. Trump is calling it a new golden age in America. We talked about this and so much more yesterday in the Oval Office. Here is part 2 of my interview with the president.
Today's liberal parents are suddenly realizing their offsprings have minds of their own. And even with Xanax and boxed wine, it's a bitch. Take last Sunday's New York Times fretful article titled, When Your Son Goes MAGA. One mom laments that her 20-year-old son, Eli, is generous and thoughtful, but he also voted for Donald Trump. Because, you know, he can't be both. Eli's mom hates his MAGA hat, and they argue about guns and immigration, even abortion. A mom arguing with her son about abortion, that's got to make the kid feel great. It's like a mechanic saying, you're lucky I didn't cut your brakes. Meanwhile, other parents blamed it on social media. Said one mom, I was like, who got a hold of my son? Well, I'm not sure who got a hold of your son, but be relieved it wasn't this guy. Or even this guy. So maybe, Mom, he's just learning to think for himself. He's becoming that independent person you claim to want. But the culture has been turned so upside down by progressives like yourself that independent thought seems alien to you. His rebellion is necessary thanks to you. And he's the kind of young voter Trump reached out to in 2024. While Kamala was clucking along with the gassy hens on The View, Trump was on podcasts reaching kids who were curious about this creature that seems to get under every adult's skin. And he showed he wasn't Hitler, Stalin, or even Kilmeade. He was clear, funny, even real, the opposite of their parents' preference, demented and drunky. So now college campuses are becoming safe places for Republicans. Hell, co-eds now have shirtless posters of Mitch McConnell on their wall. But we saw this coming. The effects of authority on independent minds always causes them to rebel when the beliefs adults espouse are expressed without persuasion. Telling your kid to make their bed or go to church without explaining why, they're not going to listen. And once they can break free from your hectoring, they embrace what you reject. It's like those kids you knew who lived under a strict household, then they went away to college and became drunken, drugged-out idiots. That's how I ended up with a Bob Crane tattoo. So these parents assumed they could just say Trump is evil and that would suffice. Sure, you can tell your kids sex is just a construct, but then they look down and see, no, that's not a vagina. Even the Times' own premise explains why they lost. Asking how do parents deal with these kids? No, it should have been how do these kids deal with teachers who mock them simply for asking, why is Trump so bad? It's no different than the shows on late night. They demand allegiance to their mundane, predictable, and lazy assumptions, and the smart viewers say, goodbye, and they come over here. You know, I hate to pat myself on the back, but among those crappy late-night shows, I was the Alex P. Keaton. Oh, thank you. No need. But instead of Family Ties, it was Back to the Future. And the future was great. You just didn't know it yet. Let's welcome tonight's guest! In just 5 short years, he'll be allowed near schools again. Comedian, host of the Jim Norton Can't Save You podcast, Jim Norton. When she calls the fight, she's the knockout. Host of Outkick the Morning, Charlie Arnone. She won't stop till she's ready to drop. New York Times bestselling author, New York Times contributor, Kat Tiff. And he's not allowed to go horseback riding. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former heavyweight champion. Jim, a lot of people aren't aware that you're a nationally renowned parenting expert.
Thank you, Greg.
Which is odd because you don't have any kids.
Yes, and I'm not allowed near schools.
Yes. But you had parents.
I did.
So did a lot of your behavior, was it contingent on the things they told you not to do?
You know, I always pushed back. Like, it was, I didn't want to get in the family business. Like, I wanted to kind of do my own thing.
What was your family business?
My parents' mule heroin. And
I can see.
I just didn't want to swallow the little balloons. It's not healthy. I went with the 10-pound bales of marijuana.
Yes.
And I would soak them in castor oil, and a friend would help me get them in with a croquet mallet.
I don't remember the question.
You were asking about my relationship with my folks. But they were always pretty independent. They didn't obsess about politics. Any parent that obsesses about politics, you're just a bore.
Yeah.
You're just a bore. And it's just the natural inclination of somebody younger just to go, shut up. They don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
If you encourage someone just to be an open-minded and a free thinker, they might go the way you want them to go. But these parents are not upset that their kids went for Trump. They're upset that, like, they're narcissists, and they're like, why couldn't I create a clone of my own belief system? So it's about their own narcissism. It's not about their kid, and they're disappointed.
That is a great point. It is, I think, Charlie, about compliance. They just wanted you to comply. Be like me, so I can look at you and go, there's me. I made you.
But then what did that say about the parents? Because we know what what liberal children are doing on college campuses these days. They're joining the girls' sports teams if they're boys.
Mm-hmm.
So does that reflect on the parents? They're attending the pro-Palestinian protests.
Mm-hmm.
They're on their 18th booster shot.
Yeah.
I mean, if that reflects the parents, then you can't really say too many positive things about the parents.
Mm-hmm.
I just, when I read these articles, it's like you said, their kid could be perfect in all ways, except if they vote for Donald Trump, they're immediately a monster.
Yeah, you can't be thoughtful and a Trump supporter.
Right, and that's why their brains are broken, because anything related to conservatism in their minds is inherently evil. But it's these kids that have gone through so many things that they probably can't even have their parents even begin to understand.
Do you get along with your parents politically? No?
I do. No, I do. I have uncovered a few things about certain of my family members recently that I'm very upset about, and it's led to some very intense conversations. But yes, I get along very well with my parents.
Whoa. You know, Kat, you were different from your late mother.
Mm-hmm.
Did she care what direction you went in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote about this like in excruciating detail in my book, actually, because it was a huge issue between us that she was very, very religious, and I'm not as much as I would like to be. I think I'd be happier if I were. But she, but I understand her perspective, right? Because if she believes that I'm going to hell, I can understand why she just couldn't let that go.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Politically, it's weird. If you vote for Trump, are you going to hell? That's not the question.
That's the thing. And in this article that I read, they said that they were having a hard time talking about these political issues without permanently damaging the relationship. It's like, you guys, you got to get over yourselves. Truly, it's insane. I mean, you got to just look at Trump and Obama laughing together at Jimmy Carter's funeral. Okay? Politics, you are pathetic and weird if you are letting it interfere with your relationship with your children on behalf of these people that don't even care that you exist. When I hope that my kid will, respect people who believe differently, but it's okay if my kid believes differently than I do. That's not the stuff I worry about. I worry that my kid's gonna be like a bad hang.
Yeah.
Like the kid shows up and people are like, ugh, so-and-so's here, That's what because you can't really control it. Your kids are going to be who they're going to be. I have the same personality as my mom did, but we have different values. I'm a mix of this and that. All my siblings and I are very different. You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, you know what you're saying. It's not that you don't want to love your kid. You want to like the kid. You want to go like, okay, I like this kid. Because loving means you don't have to like them.
Right. You don't want to be like humiliated to bring them places.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Boy, are you in for a show.
You know what, though, Tyler? So it's not really about parents. It's about the whole community of people around you who demanded that you agree. And yet, when they demand for you to agree, they actually don't take the effort to persuade you to agree.
No, well, I disagree a little bit because in my house it was different. Children, that meant, I guess, me, weren't allowed at the dinner table during conversations of politics. The best I could ever understand of what happened in an election night was, oh, that guy, and that was it from my bedroom. You're like, I don't know, the guy won. I'm not sure who. We weren't. It was just something that you weren't allowed to talk about it because you didn't know about it. That's what go learn about it in history. And I kind of have done the same thing with my kids, but unfortunately, my daughter met President Trump. So she became a Trumper because she met him, and he was nice to her, and they talked. And so when TV would come on and Kamala would speak, I would hear this guy, and I would go, and she was like, she doesn't talk very good. How can anyone vote for her? Anyone who votes for her is an idiot. Trump has good sentences. And I was like, that is right. And what are you voting for him on? His vocabulary, and he always wears a suit. I respect a man in a suit. She's 10. And why won't you vote for Kamala? Because she talks like she's 4, and I hate babies.
And there you go. A beautiful, heartwarming tale. I'm looking forward to your next children's book, Jim.
Yes.
Do you have a title for it yet?
Yes, it's called This Whole Thing's a Misunderstanding.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.